Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and I'm working on an older reel, the old vintage ones, and a lot of folks ask me why I work on these. Well, why not? My whole goal is to give these reels a second chance. Today we got the opportunity to work on one that's, well, 80 years old or close to it, getting up there, maybe 75, 80, I don't know. 1946. This is a Shakespeare Marhoff. It's a model GE, and GE by the dating codes in Shakespeare back in the day. The G was the 4 and the E was the 6, and that made it 1946. Just read an article in the Orca papers that some of these are multi-year, even though they may carry the one date. And if you look on the studs, the rivets on the bottom of this, if you see an ABCD, it'll tell you some different codings there in terms of what edition it was. So it could be 5 years past whatever the dating is, for example. But this one's the Shakespeare Marhoff. Marhoff was a reel maker by himself. I think it was William Marhoff. I could be wrong on that. And he did the reels, and then eventually they got acquired by a competitor, Shakespeare, and they continued to be produced for quite some time. I like these reels. This one's just a little bit rough. Stu sent it in. He asked me if I wouldn't mind doing a video. Well, I don't mind doing the videos as long as I have the time to do them, and let's make the time. All right, we're going to start by removing the exterior pieces. We'll start with the handle. I use a nut driver for the handle. And while we do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button to let you know when I'm publishing. And well, I work on all kinds of reels. Today it's going to be a vintage Shakespeare reel. Tomorrow it might be the most current, accurate reel, and everything in between. And well, if you like the art of reel repair, if it's a nice hobby that you're getting into, if you got a small business and you're looking to expand into doing some reel repairing, well, this is the channel for you. I try to teach you how to do it yourself as I go about servicing my customers' reels. So I would appreciate a subscription, and if you do subscribe, use that notification button to let you know when I'm posting the videos, so that you can make a determination as to whether that's something you want to see or not. Well, we've just taken the 4 screws out. You might wonder where my hand is going. It's going to my parts tray, and I just like to collect all of those screws, make sure that they're the same size, and put them into a corner of the basket. The other thing you might notice is that I'm taking a video, of course, because I'm sharing it with you, but I always recommend taking pictures as you work on your reels. That way you have critical points photographed that'll give you references when you go to reassemble if you get lost. With those 4 side plate screws out, we should be able to remove the case. Sometimes a sticky old spool will come with it. This has a, I'm not sure if this is the full spool or if this is a collar. There is a split here. Should be a corresponding split on the other side. So my thinking is, if you wanted more line on this reel, you remove this. It's probably a snap-on collar. That saves line. And if you remove it, you'll go down to a thinner arbor, and you can put more line on that. Well, this the spool is pretty clean. We don't need to touch that. Notice that the gear on here is kind of an integral part of the spool. And check the spool, clean it. If it's not clean, all you want to do from a spool standpoint, put a little bit of grease onto that drive gear. It's probably held in by a little C-clip. I didn't look too closely. I imagine it is replaceable if you chewed that up. A little bit on this side, and then I'm just going to set that into my parts tray as well. I use fishing reel grease. The fishing reel grease that I use is Penn Precision Reel Grease. Use whichever one works for you. Here's a kind of a primitive drag. Clean a little bit of this off. This is telling me right here why the reel is not working very well. It's just got a lot of old dirt and grease and grime and the like on it. You can see it on that brass piece there. I think it's brass. And you're just going to take your time to clean all of that old sludge off of there. Make it pretty again. Well, there should be a leather pad on the end of this. As you turn this knob in and out, that assembly will roll both ways. It usually says on and off. Yeah, it says more and less on this one. And I'm backing it off. This will put pressure on the inside of that spool, and that will help with the anti-backlash. Well, on a Marhoff reel, sometimes you're going to find that this reel has got a rivet where the bridge is. Sometimes you're going to find out it's got screws. This one has screws, thank goodness. And we're going to remove those 2 screws to remove the handle assembly. I use a micro driver on these just because you want to match the slot with the screws. And please, I notice these are a little bit buggered up, so I'm going to guess that whoever had done a service on this in the past, most assuredly there was a service done on this in the past, kind of got twisted and turned with it. 2 screws, the main assembly is going to fall off, and you can see all that dirt and debris back here, which is, among other things, a reason why you want to take that off. I like to work with the least abrasive before I go any further, so I'm just going to use a paper towel, see how much of this we can get off with the paper towel. Usually paper towel and penetrating oil is going to be sufficient to free up most of that old greases and junk. I did a nice job with this. And we'll just a little bit more here on that one side. Dirt and debris are the enemy of the reel. And if you find yourself in a tight spot, go ahead and use something like this, a cotton swab, and that cleans up nicely. There you go. All right, here's your drive assembly. It's a integrated drive for your spool and your drive for your level wind. This is your level wind here. Take that little button off there. We can clean the inside of this as well. Now you don't need to remove this line guide. You can simply pull this piece off or pull the plate on the other side off, either one of them. If you had a damaged line guide, for sure you would want to replace that. But in this case, this is a service, and we're just going to make sure it's nice and clean. You can see all the old dirt and grease that was accumulated on the inside. How did that get there? Well, that's the old grease that was on the reel, and over time it settles with gravity as in storage and the like. Sometimes it even winds up with being spun off by centrifugal force or other things. And I'm just looking for a cotton swab now. I put a little bit of grease. I used a pen rod and reel cleaner on the inside. I'm just going in there with a kitchen scrubby and that cleaner to try and get all of that off. All right. This is your line guide drive. I'm going to take a little bit of grease to that. I'm going to put that grease on the teeth that are going to intersect with that main gear there. Get a little bit into the hub and a little bit where it's going to ride in that bushing. And go ahead and put that back on before we lose it. And now we have the bridge. That's pretty clean. Let's go ahead and use that paper towel first. Wipe that off. And while I'm doing this, if you have any questions on this or any reel, maybe you're working on a reel and you're a little stuck. Maybe you're, I got a question this morning, how do you diagnose a problem with the reel? It's got a hitch in it. Well, I had a little bit of a problem understanding what a hitch was. It has a lot of different meanings, but I tried to do the best I could to answer the question. If you have those questions, leave them in this video or any video. I generally respond to questions in the morning before I enter the shop, and if I can help you, I'll try to do that for you. All right, as I'm looking there, there's just a little bit of grease on the back end over here I'd like to get off too. So a lot of this is just cleaning, parts inspection, relubrication, replacing any worn or damaged parts. I had one of these in just before, actually another one of Stu's. It was missing a screw. We went ahead and found the right screw for it, put that back together. All right, on the back side, you don't need to do anything with this drive. Just get a little bit of grease into the bushing where that spool is going to land. And you can take that spool, put that back in as well. The more pieces you get out of your parts tray and back where they belong, the better you're going to be when it comes time to service the rest of the reel. All right, this is just a solid piece of machined metal. There are no drag washers or anything in this. As we mentioned, the drag is a primitive drag. It's over here. But with that being what it is, all you need to do is inspect the teeth to make sure that they're all uniform, that they're not chipped or cracked or mashed up in any way. If they were, it'd be pretty hard to find a replacement gear at this point. You'd probably have to find a donor reel somewhere that's working. But it could be found. There's still a lot of these around. And even if it's not a Marhoff, chances are, if it's a Shakespeare, a lot of the parts may be interchangeable with that. Grease that up very good. You can see I wear a glove to keep that grease off my hand. Get it set up on that. A little bit of grease onto the shaft. And you'll notice we have a little hole in that main gear. If you wanted to, you could remove the handle and oil that shaft if you didn't want to take the whole reel off. Well, that's all we need to do on the bridge. Grab your bridge, find the 2 screws that are going to go in, or the shafts for the screws that are going to go in the side plate, just like that. Turn it around and then go into your parts tray and find those 2 screws that you put in there. And just get those lined up and screwed in before you do anything else. And really the only thing left now is the service on that line guide assembly, and we'll do that in just a moment. That's one of them. You got to make sure that they sit right in the case as they were designed. Don't leave them proud. Don't force them in. Just take your time. If they're askew, well, you're going to have trouble reeling. It's going to take the levelness or the position of the spool. It's going to cant it a little bit, and if it does, well, it's not going to work smoothly. All right, that's good. We're going to take our rag now, wipe off all the grease that I transferred from my glove to the side plate. I'm going to check the operation on this. It works nicely. I've pulled it all the way in at this point. And I'm just going to put a drop of oil on that little screw. That's the adjuster screw. Well, that's the back end of your side plate. Let's go ahead and put that back on then. Line up your holes. You got the 2 holes for the reel seat. That's probably a good way to start with that. Go ahead over there. Snap it in place. Make sure that you have a nice tight rim seal on this. And then go to your parts tray or whatever organizational way you are using. Go ahead and get that screw out and screw in. So these reels had a lot of character. Pre-World War II, this is all you would find for freshwater. You wouldn't find spinning reels. For the most part, spinning reels were introduced in Europe in the 1930s. You didn't find too many of them in popularity until the GIs came back from World War II, and some of them brought the reels with them. Some of them remembered seeing them and asked their local tackle companies for it. And so you found a lot of the early spinning reels were like the French Mitchells and the like. I guess if you're a collector, you can go back and find all of those. There's still a lot of them around. There's certainly a lot of Mitchells around. I think Mitchell made over 5 million Mitchell 300s or something like that. It's a huge number. It's in the millions. All right, I got one more here. It's just a little bit of an issue with me getting it started, just because it's me, not because it's a problem with the reel. So we'll just work on that one for a moment. And those of you that know me know that I have issues with these little things, and just bear with me and we'll get this one done momentarily. The problem I'm having is that this button is getting in the way here. All right, that's done. We just want to come over to the line guide assembly then. Your line guide assembly has a little pawl here, and it has an attach for that. This one's very clean, and I did notice it is working nice and easily. You want to remove that screw. That'll be another one for me to have fun putting back in. Remove that little assembly. There's a tie-down metal bracket here. Probably can just see it like that. And we should be able to remove the pawl at this point. There's your bracket and the pawl. And you can see that that looks just like a modern day pawl. I mean, you can open up a reel today, find the same thing. It's a V-shaped with 2 prongs on it. And what you want to do is just make sure it cleans up. Make sure you get the old grease out of the shoulders here. That's where it seems to lodge itself. Check the pawls, make sure they're nice and tight. On this one, there's not much you can do if it's skipping. There is, I guess, some things you could play around with. You could probably try and get a little round file if you needed to try and deepen the one spot, or you could make for a point with another microfile kind of a thing. But for the most part, if they're broken off or chipped or cracked, you're pretty much out of luck. You got to get a replacement. Well, what you see me doing now is why people don't do this, I guess. Just trying to reset the pawl. It's a very tight socket there. But with a little bit of patience, you can do it. There you go. The pawl's back in. Generally speaking, you want to try and roll that a little bit, and you will get it to sit down. You have two holes on this bracket. The big hole is for the pawl, the small is for the set screw. Go ahead and lay that on, and then we can play around with this. So while I'm doing this, I take the opportunity to thank our first responders and essential personnel, everybody who's doing what they can to keep us safe in these crazy times. I do appreciate everything you do. That's why I mention it. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate what everybody else does. Of course I do. All right, I'm just trying to get a little bit of grease into that slot to hold this little screw, and I'm not having a lot of luck. All right, let's see if we can do this. I think we've got it. There we go. Pretty sure we got it now. Oh, all that's left is to attach the handle. Put a little squirt of oil onto the worm gear here, nice and clean. If it wasn't clean, you would certainly want to do that. Seems like that needs to be tightened just a little bit. Take our handle, put that on. That's got a square drive for the handle. Almost lost the nut cap here. Nut cap goes on. Again, you can use this as an oil port. You'll see that there's a little oil entry point there if you wanted to. Didn't want to remove the rest of the reel. You could put the oil in there. Just get a little oiler like this. Push in your button, and you're good with that. I'll just grab my tool here. And let's see how we did. A little drop of oil into the two metal studs on the knobs, behind the knobs. And let's give it a ride. That's a little tight, but remember we have adjusters here. Well, that's not tight now. Look at that. Wow. 1946. That's what? Close to 83? Something like that. 83 years? 80 years? 75 years? I don't know. Do the math. Okay. Beautiful reel. This one's a knuckle buster. It goes front and back. There are no drags, but there is that anti-backlash feature, a minimal drag here. It's not going to stop the handle from going in reverse, but it is going to stop the speed of the spool when you're casting. So that's how that feature works. All right, well that's it. We've quieted it down. Nice smooth operation. And this one's ready to go back to Stu to go fishing again. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, again, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please use that notification button. To everybody, please enjoy the holidays. To all, please stay safe and stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.